feel so 2000s YouTuber right now. Zoella, where are you? Hit me up, girl. I literally feel like I'm about to do like eating 20 McNuggets. Like the Chubby Bunny challenge or the Draw My Life challenge. I literally feel like I'm in 2012 right now. Like, what is this? Who made this? Guys, every YouTuber I ever watched turned out to be gay. I should have known. But okay, also, guys, if you're a fan of Troye Sivan and you never watched him when he was like 14 doing YouTube, fake fan. Guys, I knew Troye Sivan when he released Blue Neighborhood. Me going like, I don't even know the name of the album anymore. Welcome back to Threads and Tails, guys. We are on Crochet 201. That's right, that's right. We've moved up a year. We're no longer in the Crochet 100s, baby. We're in the 200s. Stuff's gonna start getting hard, okay? I'm just kidding. You're gonna have to start writing essays. You're gonna have to start references, okay? I don't want to see any plagiarism. Honestly, you guys have a lot of the basics down now. Like single crochets, double crochets, half double crochets. Like I said, the holy trinity of crochet stitches. Really, we can get into a lot of the more like intricate techniques that go into crochet. And I know you may feel like, yo, we're like 3 videos in. What do you mean I'm like done? Like I'm done with the basics. You are. Like you literally are. That's how crocheting is, you know? Like I said at the end of my last video, we're gonna be talking about crocheting in the back loops only today. Crocheting in the back loops only is gonna get you this beautiful little ribbed look. So you can see how you have these ridges. That's what we're gonna accomplish today with crocheting in the back loops only. This is literally, it's just a half double crochet, but only in the back loops. And that's how you create this. Crocheting in the back loop actually also gives you a lot more elasticity. You can see how easy it is to stretch this out. And this is acrylic yarn, by the way. Like this is not wool or anything. This is literally acrylic yarn because it gives you a little more room for your stitches to pull because it's not in the whole stitch. This will make more sense once we're crocheting. I want to stop yapping. So I'm going to show you 2 stitches that you can do into the back loop and how different those look. We're going to start with a slip stitch, which is hell on earth, but it's going to be great. Like it's definitely something you should know. You should know how to slip stitch as a stitch itself. We're also going to do a single crochet into the back loop only, and that's going to be a lot easier than a slip stitch. Personally, I despise slip stitches. And really, it's the same technique that you're going to use if you want to do a half double crochet, a double crochet, a treble crochet, whatever you want to do. In this video, we won't actually be making anything that's going to be used for the cardigan itself, and that's because we're just not at the point to add ribbing to the cardigan yet. So we're just going to be making a wristband or a headband, whichever one you prefer and whichever one you think you're actually going to use. I'm going to do a headband, so if you're doing a wristband, you can just cut it in half really, and you'll be good to good to do that. As always, you're going to need your 5.5mm hook, and you're going to need some not so brightly colored yarn today. I decided to opt for this, which is not as bright as my usual color, but this one's just going to, it's going to give us a little bit more contrast. I'm going to suggest going for something that's a little bit darker than your usual brightly colored yarn. And that's just so that you can truly see the difference between the stitches, because we're going to be going into the back loop only. You want to be able to tell the difference between your stitches really easily. Anyways, I'm going to meet you with this yarn and my hook back at my table, and we can get crocheting. We are back at the table with our 5.5mm hook and our not as usually brightly colored yarn. So we're going to start with a slip stitch into the back loops only. I prefer a single crochet, so I'm going to show you the slip stitch first, and then we're going to come back and I'll show you how to do the single crochet. And both of these are going to give you a really nice like ribbed effect, so not to worry. So we're going to start with a slip knot in case you've never done a slip knot before, which I really hope you have, because this is not a, you know, I just started crochet and I'm going to start with slip stitching in the back loop only. Please do not do this. Please do not. If you want a more detailed tutorial on this, you can check out my crochet 101 video. So you're going to take the end of your yarn, leave a bit of the tail end out, and you're going to make a loop, very wavy loop. And then you're going to fold it over and you're going to make an equally wavy pretzel. Wow, so wavy. You're going to grab the piece of yarn that goes under the loop that you just placed over, put your hook into that. As you can see, grab it, pull both ends of the yarn, and you have a slip knot to work with. You can pull the working end of the yarn to move it closer to your hook. Like I said, we're going to be doing a headband or a wristband, whichever one you want. It starts off the same. We're going to chain 11. A chain is yarn over, pull through the loop. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. In order to get a ribbed look, we're actually going to be working this way, okay? Usually when you're crocheting something, so for example, when we did, you know, this beautiful single crochet square that I apparently love bringing out, we made our base of chains and then we worked with widthwise and we just went up and created how much ever length we wanted. Here we're working lengthwise. Like this is our final length and we're just making it as wide as we want to. So we've just made our chain and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna slip stitch into this chain. We're gonna go into that second chain from our hook, okay? And we're going to insert into the top of the chain. We're going to yarn over. We're gonna pull through the chain and we're going to hold onto this loop because it can be a little tricky. And we're not gonna yarn over again, but we're just going to pull that first loop into our second loop. So just let the hook do the work and we're just going to pull it into that second loop, okay? That's a slip stitch. So we're gonna go into the next chain and again, yarn over, pull through your chain, and then we're just going to continue with this loop and pull it through the second loop, okay? So again, into our next chain, yarn over, pull through the chain, and we're going to continue and take this loop into into the loop that's already on our hook, okay? So again, you're going into the chain, top of the chain, yarn over, pull through that chain, and we're just going to continue and keep taking that same loop in through the second loop on your hook, basically, okay? So we're coming in on our last chain here because we're crocheting into the slip knot, and again we're just going to continue and pull it through that loop, okay? So there you have it. You can see, okay, it's small, right? Because again, this is going to be basically the height, and you're gonna work this way and build it up. Now, this is where we get into the back loop part, okay? So we just finished our first row. We are going to chain 1 and turn our work, okay? And you can see that as any stitch, there is the actual stitch. In order to do your back loop only stitch, you're literally going into only the back loop, okay? Your back loop is the loop that is facing the back of your work. It's really just whatever stitch is facing you, you're just going into the back of that stitch. It's not like you have to keep switching which one you're going into. You're always going into the stitch that's furthest away from you, okay? We're going to go into this part of the stitch, okay? So you can see how you've got the nice V, and usually if you were stitching normally, usually you'd be going in through this whole part of the stitch, right? But since we're going in the back loop only, you're going into the back of the stitch. So the part of the stitch that's furthest away from you, and you're getting your hook into the back of that stitch, and you are slip stitching into it again. So again, you insert it into the back loop only, you yarn over, pull through that loop, and you continue and you take that same loop through the first loop on your hook, and you're going to keep going down through this row. Okay, so again we're going to go into the back loop only, so you can see how there's the V shape which makes your stitch. We're going into the furthest, so this one is close to me, it's facing me, this one is away from me, so I'm going into that part of the stitch. All right, I gotta dig in a little bit, but you're only getting that one part of the stitch, okay? So you're just getting that one part of that yarn on your hook, yarning over, pull through that one part of the stitch, and then you continue taking your loop all the way through. Okay, and again into the next one, you have your stitch. We're going into the part of the stitch that's furthest away from us. So I totally use my finger to pull stitches onto my hook, so it's the only way that I can get it on. And then pull through, and then continue taking that loop through the other loop on your hook, okay? And we're on to the last one. But you can see how this is the front of your stitch, so I'm literally just gonna go in and I'm gonna dig, I'm gonna look, I'm gonna find it. I believe in myself. There we have it. Oh God. Okay, there we go. We did it, guys. We did it. You're gonna have to dig around in there and find it. I'm not gonna lie. And then slip stitch into it. Okay, again, you're going to yarn over, and you're going to turn your work, and you're going to do exactly what you did all over again. Okay, that's literally how you're going to work up this project if you're doing the slip stitch only. So I'm going to do one more row, and you should be able to see the ribbed effect a little better once we get to the third row. All right, so again, we just turned our work, and you're going to go into the back loop only. So when you're doing this, okay, it's going to be hard to tell which one your stitches are, okay? So you're going to look on this side and you're going to see something that resembles stitches. You're going to look on this side, you're going to see stitches. You're going to look on this side, you're going to see stitches. The way that you can tell which one your stitch is, and this is how I do it, is I always look at where is my yarn coming out of, right? This is going to be the back loop of all of my stitches. So I'm just going to follow this path down, and now I know that this is the line of stitches that I just made. So I'm going to continue working down in this line, okay? We're going to go into, there's a nice V, we're going to go into the back loop only, and it only gets worse. And we're going to slip stitch again. Okay, this one's hard, there we go. Okay, and slip stitch. Honestly, when you're slip stitching, loosen your tension. Like, otherwise you're gonna be like me who forgot to loosen their tension. Because I love not slip stitching, but if you're doing a slip stitch as an actual stitch for an entire project, loosen your tension so that it's easier for you to get into the stitches that you just made, okay? So just don't pull as tight. Finishing off the stitch, leave a little bit of room, okay? Leave it a little loosey-goosey. Almost done. This is the last one of this row. There we go. All right. Chain one, turn your work. Okay, you're gonna see it really well after a lot more rows. But if you look at this, you can see how there's like this bump at the back of your work. And it's like created this little ridge across the work. And if you look at it here, you can see how there's like a dent in what you're crocheting. That's how it's gonna go. So you're going to have this point at which it keeps indenting over and over, and these ridges at the back is what creates the ribbed look, okay? So if you keep going this exact same way, you're going to see it start getting ribbed, okay? That was how you did a slip stitch one. I'm honestly not gonna put myself through this torture anymore because like I said, despise slip stitching. as a stitch. So I'm going to show you how to do the single crochet version of this, and again you're going to see it build up. The main difference between the slip stitch and the single crochet in the back loops only, a single crochet is going to give you a little bit more space between the ridges, whereas a slip stitch in back loops only is going to give you a very cinched look. So if you're looking for something that's more like a turtleneck, you want something to be a little bit more form fitting, you're going to want to do like a slip stitch. That's how you're going to get the most like elasticity and the tightest version of this. But if you just want something that's pretty chill, then you can do the single crochet. We're literally going to do almost the exact same thing. So we've got our chain 11 here. We're going to single crochet into the chain as usual. We're going to insert into the chain, yarn over, pull through the stitch, and then yarn over, pull through both loops. And we're just going to do that down the entirety of this foundation chain. Again, if you want a detailed explanation of how to do your foundation chains and a single crochet, you can watch my Crochet 101 video. There we go. Okay. We've got our first row of single crochets, and we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our work, and now we're going to start crocheting into the back loops only. So again, you've got your nice beautiful stitches going down, and we're just going to go into the stitch, like the part of the stitch that is furthest away from us. So this part of the stitch is facing me, and that part of the stitch is facing away. So I'm going to go into just that part of the stitch. So again, just for you to see a little closely, I'm going and taking only the back loop, and I'm leaving this loop out. And I am going to single crochet into only the back loop. Okay, I'm going to do that all the way down. So again, that loop is the furthest away from me, this loop is facing me. So I'm going to go into the back loop only, and I'm going to crochet. Okay, and do my single crochet. So you can see how here you can see the front parts of your stitches. You can see them sitting there, okay? And we're gonna keep going. We're gonna go into the back loop. There you go, and single crochet. See how much easier this is than a slip stitch? I swear to God, people who do like slip stitch projects are just like masochists. I don't know. I could never do that to myself. I love myself too much. Into the back loop. There we go. And we're just gonna keep single crocheting. All right. And we're going into the last one. Again, there's the little V. We're just going into the one that's on the back, further away from us, and we're doing our last single crochet. So there you see this little line? That's actually the front loops of your stitches just sitting there. And that's how you create the ribbed effect, because it basically keeps going back and forth, right? Because like I said, you're always crocheting into the loop of the stitch that's furthest away from you. So you kind of, as you keep turning your work, you're alternating it. So this little line and this little ridge that's created is what creates that bumpy ribbed look. Okay, so we just finished this. We're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to continue to crochet in the back loop. Okay, so again, we're going to crochet in the loop that's furthest away from us. So this one's facing us, this one's away from us, so I'm going to go into that one, and I'm going to start my single crochets down. Okay, again, just the back loop. You're not taking both parts of the stitch. You're going only into the back loops, and you're doing your single crochets there. And that's our last 1. So there, again, see the little line of the front loops, and see how you don't see it on this end because we flipped our work, so that's on the end, and that's how you're going to create that ribbed look because it keeps going back and forth. Okay, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to keep going. You're literally just going to keep doing this. So back loop only. So you can see at the end of our 4th row, you can see that ribbed effect, right? Like if you look at it, you can see how you have these, like these ridges that are being formed, okay? And those bumps, and that's how you're gonna get that ribbed look and that ribbed effect. And it's literally as simple as that. It's just crocheting in the back loops, and you could do this with any stitch. Like I'm showing you a single crochet because it's a shorter stitch. You can do this with a double crochet, a half double crochet, a treble crochet, do whatever your heart desires. As long as you're crocheting into the back loop only, you will be creating this ridged effect, okay? Doing it with something like a double crochet is just going to make the space between it more, so it's not going to look like a very tightly packed ribbed work. You'll still get the same effect, but you won't necessarily get the same tightness as you might get from a single crochet or from a slip stitch. We're going to keep crocheting, and we're going to go all the way until we reach a nice length. If you're doing a wristband, you can keep crocheting until it wraps around your wrist, and then you can skip to the end of the video and meet me back there. If you're doing a headband, again, you can just keep crocheting, try wrapping it around your head and seeing if it fits, and just keep crocheting until you get the desired length. But you're just going to keep going up and down and up and down, and you're just gonna keep doing it. All right, so I am literally just going to speed run through all of these rows until I get the length that I want for my headband. And then I'm going to meet you back here to cast off and to join them. So don't cast off without meeting me back here. Alright guys, we are back. So I ended up crocheting 52 rows to get the length that I desired. And the way that I measured this and figured out that 52 rows is where I want it to be, I just held this side and I put it around my head and pulled it back and checked if it could basically hold up my hair. It doesn't fit perfectly around my head, but that's what I wanted. I wanted there to be a little bit of space so I could create a bit of elasticity. So that's probably the same thing you want to do. I crocheted about 4 more rows and it fit perfectly around my head, so I took out those 4 rows so I could have a bit of that pull. So you can see when you look at this piece, you can pull it and you can see the elasticity on it, and that's the beauty of ribbed crochet, right? And now that we have all of this out here, you can really see how that rib effect is created, right? It's like this beautiful bumpy little pattern. So, but I just want to show you how to finish this off and how to join it. And there are different ways that you could do it. There are people that'll just, like, you can cast off and you can basically sew it onto this side. I personally don't like sewing as much. I like to just basically crochet it into it. So I'm going to show you how I do that. All right, so we're going to zoom in again just so that you can see exactly what we're doing. So, you know, I just finished off this last row. I chained 1 and I'm going to turn. Okay, and then I'm going to take the other end of my work and I'm going to wrap it around up here. Okay, so just make sure that it's straight. Just make sure that you haven't turned any of the work, okay? And we're literally just going to single crochet down. So it's just going to be a normal single crochet. We are going to crochet in a way that's going to join both of these stitches together. So what we're going to do is, instead of just going into the stitch, we're actually going to go into the corresponding stitch on this side first. So I'm going to go into the first space that's available here. Because this is a chain, you can actually tell because each one of these little bumps is the bottom of the chain that you didn't actually use when you were making your single crochet, right? So you will have the exact amount of stitches that you need. So if we look over here, there's one line over here. So I'm going to enter there, and that's basically going to be the equivalent of the last stitch that I made on this, okay? So we're just gonna go into that space, okay? And we're not gonna take the whole stitch. We're just taking that one, like the top of that stitch. So you should only have what is basically the bottom of your foundation chain. You should only have that one piece of yarn on your hook. You shouldn't have multiple pieces of yarn, okay? And we are going to then attach it in to these single crochets that we just did. All right, so I'm gonna go into the back loop only, and I'm gonna do a single crochet as usual. I'm gonna yarn over, and I'm gonna pull this through both of these stitches that I entered. Okay, so just like that, and now we're back to a normal single crochet. So I'm just going to yarn over and pull through both. Okay. And you can see how it basically joins both of these. And that's how we're just going to single crochet down this entire length. Okay, so again, we're going to find the next bottom of the chain here. So that's right here. And we're just going to take that top. Okay. And again, it's just that one piece, like that one line of yarn. You're not taking any more. And we're going to go into the next stitch of our single crochets here, and we're just going to go into the back loop only. And again, we're going to proceed with a normal single crochet. We're just going to pull the yarn through both of those stitches and then yarn over, single crochet. All right, and that's how it's just going to keep going. So again, we're going to find the bottom of that chain, and then we're going to go into the back loop of our next single crochet, and then yarn over and pull through both of those loops, and then yarn over and pull through those loops, and there you go. We're just gonna single crochet our way down there. Once we get a little closer to this part, so for me, I ended up having my slip knot on this side, but I do want to basically crochet over it so I don't have to weave it in. So I'm actually going to add this into the pile now. And the way that I do it is, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find the bottom of that chain. Okay. And then I'm going to add this yarn in there, and then I'm going to find the back loop only, and I'm literally just gonna crochet. So you can see how this yarn, like the tail, is over my stitches there, and so when I do my single crochet, oops, got too excited. When I do my single crochet, it just yarns over this. Okay, and the next stitch, I'm gonna try to keep alternating it so it creates a bit of a tighter grip, otherwise it could just slip out. So I'm going to put this under now, and I'm gonna go into that back loop only, do my single crochet, and then I'm gonna find the next one. We're gonna keep going as usual. Okay, and then I'm gonna get that yarn back over my hook, which is from the slip knot to the tail, and then I'm gonna have it in the middle of my stitch again, so I can yarn over it like that, and it's tucked in there. And there you go. you finish your last single crochet, chain 1, and snip off your work and pull. And there you have it. So you can see how, because we did it in the back loops only, it actually creates another ridge. So it just continues with the pattern of it, which I think helps to create a nice cohesive look. If we flip it inside out, this yarn sticking through, which I am literally just going to cut off because we wove it in as we crocheted. So you can see now that if you actually look at it, you can't quite tell where you joined it, and then your ends you can just weave in your end, which I know we haven't gotten to quite yet because I was hoping to show you how to weave in your ends while like crocheting over it, and all of these different methods to doing it, but really simply and really easily put, especially in a project like this, you would take your darning needle and you take the end of your yarn, so wherever you cut it off, but I just create a little point like that so I can get it into the eye of my needle a little bit easier, and I just like shimmy it on and then pull through so you have a little bit of that yarn in. And then because I want this to be the outside, I'm gonna work on basically like the inside of my yarn, and I'm just gonna weave it through here. And the way that I do it is I just go into one part of the stitch, so like I'll put my needle in through there and then pull my yarn through that, and then I just keep going. You just keep picking stitches to go through and to basically weave your ends in. And the idea here is that you're kind of weaving it in, so even if it comes loose from a stitch, like it's still being held, it won't get to the point where it starts unraveling. So you can go back and forth. So I like to go down until here, and then I'll just work my way back up so that I'm just creating some crisscross of it, and it's a little less likely that it's going to, you know, just come undone basically. So a little bit more, and then I'm just gonna do a little bit more going down. Again, just that it almost kind of like knots itself. It just creates like a really weird pattern in which it's pretty unlikely that somehow all of this yarn is going to pull from all of these stitches. So there you go. That works for me. I don't care enough. This is also something that I'm going to be using, so I don't really mind if the stitches, like if they pull a little, I can always fix it, but there you have it. You can just pull it a little bit so it gets wedged in there, and that's just where we cut it off, but there you have it. That's how you can very easily just sew your edges in. It doesn't have to be anything really beautiful and pretty, but I will go into it a little bit more in depth in another module, so we can go over all the different ways that you can attach work together and stuff. And so I'm just going to flip it, and there you have it. That is my beautiful headband. Congrats! You now have a super cool headband or wristband if you made it. Otherwise, you now know how to crochet in the back loop only, which is super exciting. Again, we will be coming back to this and using it when we're putting our cardigan together, especially at the end of the sleeves, but we're just not there yet. But we're gonna get there soon, I promise. We also don't have an assignment for today, so if you just didn't finish your wristband or your headband, you can just finish that. If you want to do something else that's super fun, that's like back loop only crocheting, you can do that. You can go out and look for some tutorials on things like toques or beanies. I highly suggest that if you want to learn more about back loop only crocheting and you want to get a bit more comfortable with it. Those are super easy projects to do as a beginner, so go out and look for some of those. Scarves as well are really easy, a little time consuming, but they're very, very straightforward, and you're just kind of doing the same thing over and over until it ends. So those are some really good projects for you to take on, just so you can get more comfortable with doing a single crochet or a half double crochet or a double crochet in the back loop only. Before we end this video, just a quick sneak peek into next week's video. I'm actually super excited for this one because we're going to be talking about experimenting with new stitches. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I usually find new stitches, why I like using new stitches and learning them, and why I think it's really important for you, especially as a beginner crocheter. Well, you're not that beginner anymore, but an intermediate crocheter, I would say at this point, why it's really important for you to continue to basically look for new stitches, to continue learning new stuff, and to just try to find and try to build your repertoire of stitches. And in next week specifically, I'll be showing you how to do a treble crochet, which is another very popular stitch, and then I'm going to show you how to do a trinity stitch, which is one of the stitches that I really like and I learned through a book. So I really love this stitch and I want to show you how to do this. As always, you're going to need the exact same materials. You're going to need your 5.5mm hook and you're going to need your brightly colored acrylic yarn. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in and I hope I'll see you guys next week. See ya!